In the dead of night, police found a trail of blood leading from a broken window into a dense forest. The DNA confirmed it belonged to Sarah Langley, missing for over a week. But here's the terrifying twist: no body was ever found. And the autopsy that was supposed to confirm her death? It never happened, because Sarah Langley officially never existed. The blood trail began just past midnight, discovered by a jogger whose flashlight caught a crimson smear across a crumbling wooden gate. It led from a shattered window in an abandoned farmhouse into the dense thicket bordering the outskirts of Hadley Creek. Investigators swarmed the scene before dawn. The blood was fresh, still tacky in the cool air. And the DNA came back fast: Sarah Langley. The problem? There was no body. No sign of struggle inside the house. Just silence. And what was supposed to be her apartment across town was suddenly vacant, the lease listed under a different name. Furniture gone. No neighbors remembered her moving out. Detective Mark Halston was the first to notice something was deeply wrong. Sarah's driver's license showed her birth date, home address, and even an ID number. But when they ran her through federal systems, nothing matched. No tax returns. No medical history. No schooling. Not even a birth certificate. It was as if Sarah had appeared only a few years ago, fully formed, and then dissolved the moment the blood was found. Her employer claimed she'd worked there for 3 years but couldn't produce a signed contract. Her HR records had been mysteriously corrupted, wiped clean the same night she vanished. As investigators began contacting those close to her, the story only got more bizarre. Jenna Morrison, Sarah's closest friend, said Sarah had recently grown distant. She started saying strange things, Jenna recalled. She told me someone was watching her from inside reflections. Not behind her, inside the glass itself. Jenna dismissed it at first, thinking it was paranoia. But 2 days before she disappeared, Sarah had deleted every photo of herself online and left a voicemail that ended in a scream, followed by 3 minutes of dead silence and what sounded like water dripping. Another coworker described Sarah as fine, but different in her last week. She'd wear long sleeves in the middle of summer, stare at her computer screen like she was waiting for it to blink back. And one time she asked someone if they ever felt like reality was being written around them in real time. No one knew what she meant. Inside the abandoned house where her blood was found, police uncovered something else: a half-burned notebook hidden beneath the floorboards. It was filled with scribbled entries, some coherent, others manic. "I dream in static," one line read. "When I wake up, I don't know what I've remembered or what I've been told to forget." Another page simply read, "If you find this, it means I'm still real. Please make me real again." More unsettling than her disappearance was the consistency of memory gaps. Everyone who knew Sarah remembered different versions of her. One remembered her as a graphic designer. Another swore she was a medical student. A neighbor insisted she had a dog, but no one else remembered a pet. It was as though Sarah's identity shifted based on who was recalling her, like she had never truly been pinned down to one life. Then came the CCTV footage. One clip, taken outside her apartment 2 nights before she vanished, showed Sarah standing still at the edge of a parking lot. She wasn't moving. Her head was tilted upward as if watching something no one else could see. Then, without warning, the footage glitched. When it resumed, Sarah was gone. No cut. No transition. Just gone. Investigators combed through footage frame by frame and realized something more disturbing. The timecode itself warped. Seconds looped. Lights in the background blinked in reverse. One detective later told the media, "It's like reality skipped a beat." As the blood trail wound deeper into the forest, cadaver dogs followed it until it abruptly stopped. No more droplets. No footprints. No signs of a body being dragged. Just emptiness. The area was later surveyed with ground-penetrating radar. Nothing. Not a single bone, tooth, or fiber belonging to Sarah Langley was ever recovered. And yet the blood was undeniably hers. Detective Halston became increasingly obsessed. He started seeing inconsistencies in his own files, pages he swore he wrote now missing, recordings with pieces snipped out. He took a photo of Sarah's burned notebook and the next day the image was blank, just a black square. When he reached out to digital forensics, they found that every file related to Sarah Langley was corrupted or marked with unknown metadata strings. Lines of nonsensical code and timestamps that didn't exist. One forensic analyst quietly quit after reviewing them. She claimed she dreamed of Sarah calling her name through a tunnel of mirrors for 3 nights straight. Halston began recording all his interviews by hand, using analog equipment. But even that wasn't immune. At one point, an audio reel played back something he never recorded, Sarah's voice whispering, They made me from forgetting. And now they're remembering me wrong. Despite being a seasoned officer, Halston admitted privately to a colleague that he began dreaming in static too. The last note in his case journal was short. It simply read, "If she never existed, then why am I haunted by her?" 2 days later he went missing. All that was left behind was a red thread, stretched across the wall in his office, connecting photos of Sarah that no longer developed correctly. Faces blurred. Eyes scratched out. And the window behind his desk? Smeared with something dark, something sticky. It tested positive for Sarah Langley's blood. Again. The investigation shifted focus when digital forensics attempted to piece together Sarah Langley's virtual identity. What should have been a straightforward process quickly turned into a technological nightmare. Her name yielded minimal search results. Social media platforms where she'd once been tagged now showed blank usernames, broken links, or accounts that had been deactivated by user. But no one had the credentials to do so. Her email addresses bounced back. Her LinkedIn profile, once filled with glowing recommendations, was reduced to an empty shell, a photoless, nameless user with a scrambled employment history. Then it disappeared altogether. Police obtained her last known mobile device, left behind at her office desk. It was locked, but oddly enough didn't require a passcode. The moment it was powered on, it flickered erratically before finally revealing a fragmented home screen. Dozens of voice memos appeared, each with cryptic titles like "Memory Shift _01, Falster, Repeat," and "I am not gone if you hear me." The first recording was only 6 seconds long, static, followed by Sarah whispering, "Erase me and I'll still bleed." The geolocation data from the phone's GPS painted an even stranger picture. Her movements, as recorded, made no physical sense. She appeared in 2 cities at the same time, Hadley Creek and a town called Ridgemont, nearly 130 miles apart, on the same day. And on one occasion she sent a message to her friend Jenna at 2:47 a.m., though the message timestamp showed it was sent from a coordinate deep in the ocean. When experts analyzed the coordinates, they didn't match any real mapping system. One analyst simply said, "It's like the phone thinks it was in a place that doesn't exist." Then came the emails. While none were in her inbox, Digital Recovery unearthed drafts, unsent messages written to unknown addresses. In one she wrote, "They said I would forget who I was, but I didn't forget. I watched them forget me. Even you will forget me by the time you read this." Another draft was addressed to someone, or something, named Mirror Observer, stating, "The reflections show what I used to be. But the real me never made it into the glass." When police sought Sarah's internet history, they found hundreds of searches about memory erasure, false identities, experimental neurology, and something that appeared again and again, the Mandel Protocol. No one at first knew what it meant. It wasn't a known medical term or classified government project. But digging deeper they found scattered forum posts under anonymous usernames, many now deleted, that referenced it as a fringe theory, a process designed to phase someone out of consensus reality. According to the theory, if a person's identity could be destabilized across enough dimensions, digital, legal, social, and psychological, they could effectively be removed from reality while their body remained. And then came the strange email received by Detective Halston from an unknown sender. No address, no subject line, just a file attachment named Remainder. The file contained footage, grainy, possibly surveillance, from a hallway camera in what looked like a hospital or lab. A woman resembling Sarah stood motionless in a white gown, her eyes wide open, staring into a one-way mirror. Behind the mirror, distorted figures moved. Sarah raised a hand and pressed it against the glass, and her lips mouthed a phrase the lip reader later interpreted as, "I'm real if you remember me." Forensics tried to trace the IP address of the email. It didn't lead to any server. Instead, it looped infinitely, each attempt to track it returning to the same place, Sarah's apartment, which had long since been cleared. Investigators returned to her old residence and discovered something new. Behind a mirror in the bathroom was a hidden cavity containing a USB drive and a disposable phone. The USB contained a folder titled I_exist, and within it were hundreds of video clips of Sarah talking to herself in different rooms, timestamps jumping between weeks, even years. She appeared gaunt, paranoid, and increasingly fragmented. In one video she says, "They say my memories don't belong to me. But if I lose them, who do they belong to?" The disposable phone held one saved contact. "Remember me." No number. No messages. But when activated, the phone rang once, then stopped. Seconds later, Halston's office phone rang. On the other end, silence. Then a voice. A voice that sounded like Sarah, whispering one word, "Repeat." Even stranger was what followed. Colleagues of Halston reported that in the days following the call, he began acting strangely, repeating phrases he'd never said before, asking if anyone had seen the version with green eyes. But Sarah had brown eyes. He insisted that wasn't true. Meanwhile, Sarah's digital photos across the internet didn't just vanish, they changed. In one backup photo recovered from a news article, her face appeared subtly altered. Her eyes were a different color. Her expression different. Her background inconsistent. Some photos even included individuals no one could identify, men and women standing slightly behind her, faces blurred, not present in the original images. It was as if the record of her life was being rewritten in real time. Or worse, contaminated by something unseen. All attempts to archive her identity failed. Backup hard drives glitched. Files corrupted. Even physical files, printed photos, written reports, started disappearing from boxes and evidence storage. One officer insisted that a printout he'd stapled to a wall was gone the next morning, and in its place was a blank sheet of paper with the words, "Was she ever real? Or are you only pretending to remember?" By now it was more than just a disappearance. Sarah's very existence had become unstable. And every person who touched the case began to feel the same effect. Time gaps, dreams of places they'd never been, memories of events that didn't line up. Sarah Langley hadn't just vanished. She had infected the concept of reality itself. The third and final thread unraveled when a man named Dr. Elias Wren stepped forward, contacting the Hadley Creek Police Department anonymously. He claimed to have knowledge about Sarah Langley, not just about her disappearance but about what she was. Wren was a former psychiatrist and researcher, now a recluse, who once worked for a think tank associated with experimental cognitive erasure and perception manipulation. When asked why he waited to come forward, he simply said, "Because remembering her comes at a cost." Detective Halston, already disoriented from the inconsistencies haunting the case, agreed to meet Wren at a neutral location, a derelict library on the edge of town. Wren brought documents. Not originals, but typewritten transcripts of clinical notes and project summaries stamped with black bars and redacted names. He told Halston that Sarah Langley wasn't her real name. That she was born under another identity, one that had been deliberately erased as part of a long-defunct experiment referred to as the non-existence theory. Its goal, to study whether removing all points of reference to a person's life could destabilize their reality enough to cause complete dissociation from the world around them, both physically and psychologically. Wren said Sarah was one of 12 test subjects. The others had broken quickly, some ended up in institutions, some took their own lives, and a few simply disappeared as if swallowed by the spaces between memories. But Sarah held on longer than any of them. According to Wren, she resisted the fading. She tried to anchor herself, he explained. In photos, in voice memos, in other people's recollections. But the experiment had already advanced too far. The world had begun forgetting her before she knew it. Wren presented what he called memory decay graphs, showing how Sarah's presence in witness accounts, digital records, and interpersonal relationships declined over time. The graphs didn't just show loss, they showed conflict. Different people remembered different versions of her, as if multiple realities were folding over one another, trying to reconcile her identity but failing. Halston asked the most important question, where did she go? Wren's response chilled him. She didn't go anywhere. She's still here. But she's in the place between. When asked what that meant, Wren elaborated. It's a term we use to describe the state of near erasure. Not death. Not invisibility. Something worse. The person exists but not in any one frame of reference. They exist in gaps, between reflections, in forgotten phone calls, in conversations you remember having but can't prove happened. They become the echo that doesn't quite stop. Halston, desperate for clarity, asked if Sarah could be recovered. Wren said only this, if enough people remember her at once, maybe. But memory is fragile. And the system is designed to collapse under conflict. You remember too hard, it forgets harder. After the meeting, Halston returned to the precinct. But things were different. Files that had once been missing were now back but wrong. Sarah's photo in one file now showed a woman with no face, just a blank space where her features should be. A colleague insisted Sarah's case had been closed months ago, listed as a suicide. The report bore Halston's signature, but he didn't remember writing it. That night, Halston received one final voicemail. It came from his own number. When he played it, he heard his own voice, distorted and slow, saying, "She's looking through the glass again. Don't turn around." In the background, faint breathing. Then Sarah's voice. "I remember you." Something inside Halston broke. He took all the remaining physical evidence, photos, recordings, notes, and locked them in the evidence room. He sealed the door with police tape. That night, he left a voice memo on his personal recorder. "I'm leaving now. Because I've started seeing her in reflections too. Not just in the mirror. In windows. In screens. She doesn't blink. I do. And when I blink, she's closer." The next morning he was gone. The precinct searched for him, but there was no trace. Surveillance footage showed him entering the evidence room but never leaving. No one could explain it. The tapes were reviewed repeatedly. Each time, something was different. His clothes changed, the timestamp altered, even the room's lighting flickered inconsistently. After his disappearance, the case was quietly closed. Those who tried to reopen it encountered inexplicable resistance. Systems would freeze, computers crash, files spontaneously delete. One intern who tried printing Sarah's file saw only a blank sheet with the sentence, "You looked too long." Months later, whispers about Sarah Langley resurfaced in online forums, never posted by accounts that stayed active for long. The stories varied. Some said she was an experiment. Others claimed she was never real at all, just a shared hallucination seeded into collective memory. But a handful believed otherwise, that she was still trapped between realities, waiting for someone to remember her fully, to bring her back. One user uploaded a 10-second video titled, "She Lives in the Glass." It showed a window pane in a dark room. For the first 8 seconds, nothing. Then a face appeared, not walking into frame, not reflecting from behind, but emerging within the glass itself. The eyes were wide. Afraid. Familiar. The user who posted it deleted their account within minutes. But the video kept circulating. And in the final frame, if you pause it just right, there's a whisper, not audible at normal speed but slowed down. It says, "You're next."